for our spouses. So let's dig in together. Why don't you understand me? There are several reasons for this, and maybe you've also been through the situation where I've told you so many times. Well, telling somebody many times is no guarantee that they will understand. If they did, we wouldn't be hearing those statements. So here we go. First of all, we see things differently. And that's from the point or the fact that we're different people. We're not the same people. Every one of us is unique. So we see things differently. From the proverbial glass half full to glass half empty. Some are optimistic, some are pessimistic. And sometimes I like to say, and some just go along. They're neither A or B. You know, they're just there. They roll with the tide or go with the flow. So we see things differently. While one would think an issue is very serious, the other person might think, no, it's not so bad. One might think, oh, this is terrible. The other might think, well, you know, and think of it from this other way. So we see things differently. And because of that, the same issue, the same scenario, the same occurrence, viewed by two different people, when we're talking about the relationship between us, two people, we will come to different conclusions. We will understand the same thing we have viewed differently. Just think about it. Eyewitnesses of the same event, do they all report the same way? They'll be reporting on the same thing, but then almost always from different perspectives. Sometimes we misunderstand each other because we have different needs. What do we mean by different needs? Last month, I believe we were discussing, we discussed a little bit the love languages and how these affect the way we do things, you know. So if my focus or if my love language is acts of service, I like doing things for people, I would also like my wife to do things for me. And when there is an issue where I expect her to act and she's not acting, guess what my conclusion may become? She doesn't care. But maybe that's not the issue at all. Maybe she just got deeply involved in something else. I wouldn't even say sidetracked, you know, because yes, we do have well-meaning intentions, generally speaking. Third thing to consider why we misunderstand each other is that we also enjoy different things. Remember I said we are unique people. Somebody likes jokes, somebody no jokes. Somebody likes sports, somebody doesn't like sports, may even hate sports. You see, somebody likes to talk a lot, chat a lot, wants to be, you know, amidst many people. Somebody is more likely to spend their time alone and in quietness. Does that mean there's something wrong with them? No, that's how they are. Somebody likes going out, somebody likes staying home. Somebody likes being on a vacation, yes. And then here we have some like a staycation. They just want to stay at home. You know. What about our hobbies? Some have hobbies, some don't have hobbies. You see, some want to chat, some others want to watch a movie. So all these things affect the way we understand things. So it might be, oh, both of you may want to spend some time together. One wants to watch a movie, one wants to read a book, or one just wants to be silent. You know, maybe one wants to listen to music, and the other one thinks, oh, maybe I can, finally I get some time, I can stretch out and have a nap. And the other one is playing music. Even two people might love music, but one wants to listen to music loud, the other one doesn't. We're different. And so the one who wants to listen to music softly, what happens when the one who likes to listen to music loudly raises the volume? You are disturbing. You see? And it's just that we're different. Then there are those of us who have poor relationship skills. And here we'll just focus on talking, skills relationship with talking and answering and listening. Some of us are poor listeners. And poor listening is not just sitting to keep quiet or, they're also humming a tune or watching something. No. Poor listening can also be because you're talking over the other person. That means there are many of us who are poor listeners. That's the truth. And there are several times when we've had couples we're working with, sometimes we hear the exclamation, "This is the first time I'm hearing this." The other person will say, "I've told you so many times." So the truth is that, yes, I've told you so many times, and yes, the truth is that this is the first time, well, not that they're hearing, it's the first time they're actually listening. So they've heard what the other person is saying, And then in relation to this, post-communication skills also show that in that sometimes some people are poor at answering or responding when the other person has talked or sharing something. And some of this may not be that the person doesn't want to answer, although that could be a factor. But some of us have had poor role models growing up, or even in adulthood, on how to respond when somebody says or does something. Some of us is simply because we have bad advice from friends or relatives. If he does this, do that. If she says this, do that. And we follow it. Friends, if it's not working, well, continue. Let's see what Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 13 says. The book of Proverbs are known as, or is known as the wisdom book. So we can draw a lot of wisdom from that. So Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 13.
Proverbs chapter 18 verse 13 from the New Living Translation. Spouting off before listening to the facts is both shameful and foolish.
So we need to listen before we talk. That's another simple way of putting it. We'll come back to this. Well, let me put it clear. Sometimes we hear people say, "Oh, I know where he's coming from. I know where he's going." No. And so the person begins speaking and you already have your answer cooked up in your head, just waiting so that you deliver it. And you may miss vital information that the person may be adding. Sometimes we don't understand each other because we don't allow our partner or spouse to think or feel the way they do. You see, we don't respect what they're feeling, and we also sometimes wrongly conclude that when they're feeling a certain way, it's against us. If I'm sad, I'm sad. It may not necessarily be that you made me sad. But if I also feel that I'm feeling sad and it's a result of what you've said or done, then why don't you accept it? That's how I'm feeling. It's inside of me. You can't take that away from me. But then some people will say, you shouldn't feel that way. And I do feel that way. And in relation to this, there are those who can feel their real feelings. I will come to this in a few more minutes, because this can affect our understanding also. Because if we're sitting and chatting and you're doing so in an animated manner, you're happy and everything, and then later on, it turns out you just went along with the flow. Now that gives me mixed feelings. And that's something we all need to be aware of. Some of us have grown up having been trained, yes, to mask our feelings, to conceal what we really feel. And it doesn't disappear because you're married. It doesn't disappear because you're in a relationship. romantic relationship at that, which also is another feeling to have, being in love and not wanting to show some other side of you. But you are hurt, you are unhappy, maybe even angry. And so if I don't know you are angry because of what I've said, I might say it again. If I don't know I have hurt you by what I have done, chances are that I'll do it again, thinking it's okay. Because maybe for me it's okay. But if you don't let me know, I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't know not to do so. Then sometimes we misunderstand each other because we think if the person understands me, then they have to agree with me or like or feel like I do about the same thing. No. I might agree with you that mangoes are good, but it does not mean that I like mangoes, because you do like mangoes. And you and I agree that mangoes are good, doesn't mean that I like them too. Maybe I know that mangoes are good, but I don't like them. You see, so we may misrepresent in our minds what the person is or knows or does or likes simply because they agree with us. But isn't that the truth? If something happens and you're talking about it and somebody agrees with you, you tend to think, oh yeah, or they say they understand what you're saying. You think, oh yeah, they agree with you on what is no. They understand what you said. Doesn't mean they agree. Then sometimes we also misunderstand each other because we focus on ourselves only, forgetting our partner, forgetting our spouse. Why do we say so? If I'm only interested in my viewpoint, if I'm only interested in what I think or feel about something, and I do not consider what my wife feels, what my brother feels, what my friend feels for that matter, and I'm only interested in what I have to say, my viewpoint, I'm not helping the situation at all. And what may result is that whatever their focus is, I may not consider it. And if they're trying to get me, send me a message or get me a message, something they want me also to understand on their part, guess where that will leave us? When I'm focusing so much on myself. Here is another verse from the book of wisdom, Proverbs, chapter 18, verse 2. This is a strong one, so I'm warning you before it comes. Proverbs 18, verse 2, but it's from the Bible.
Proverbs chapter 18, verse 2, from the New King James Version. A fool has no delight in understanding, but in expressing his own heart. Amen.
Amen. There you are. The New International Version says the fool is one who is only interested in airing their own opinion. I do remember as a child I often ran into trouble. My mom used to tell me I love my boys too much. Because if anything happened between me and my big sister, now it came before my mom, and I would go on talking and explaining and wanting to make sure my point was accepted by my mom. In fact, sometimes she would just dismiss me with, you love your voice too much. You're not listening. That was hard, but I grew to learn it. And marriage taught me that my mom was right. I could be so much in love with my own voice, my wife may begin to wonder, am I in love with her or my voice? Am I interested in what she also has to say? See, alongside this kind of attitude is sometimes we misunderstand each other because we dismiss or play down our spouse's perspective, their viewpoint, their ideas. We play them down. If they're not very serious, as if they're not worth it, as if, they're not important, That doesn't help. Sometimes we simply refuse to accept what they say. And, this is a phrase someone uses. I seem to have a mental block. The question in our minds was, is this a deliberate mental block? That is, refusing to understand, or it is just a psychological inability to understand or to consider seriously what the spouse says or does. Sometimes it is because if we indicate that we've understood, it means we would have to act on what we've understood, and so we do everything but understand. Then, of course, you heard about this. We all have different experiences growing up, whether it's our backgrounds, whatever it is. But we like to bring ourselves to today because it's very easy to say, "Oh, I didn't grow up about, the home in which I grew up, this didn't happen." And this often plays out when, we have spouses or sometimes people who are even still not married, but they're in a very serious relationship, where one person says, "Oh, she's not affectionate," or "he's not affectionate." I wish they would show more displays of affection, or show more affection, something like that. Then the other person says, "Oh, I didn't grow up like that." What does that mean? That you cannot or you will not. See, there are two different things. You can't means you do not have the ability to do it, but you are alive. So you won't is more likely the issue. And it's very easy to hide behind, "Oh, the home in which I grew up, my parents didn't show affection." So, but you can receive affection. That's the interesting thing. But how about today? For some people, they have different experiences at work. Someone can be in a very stressful work situation. So by the time they're off work, getting home or to meet a partner, they're really already under stress. Their mind is all filled up with tough things that they experience at work. Maybe a bad boss, or a difficult work colleague, or it's the work itself that is stressful. Maybe high intensity work, maybe you work in an ICU or some other place, at risk children, tough things to do. And you're already tense when you leave work. Without being, consciously working away this tension, you will arrive home with that tension. Some people face long commutes to and from work. So the traffic itself wakes them up. And you see, even with traffic, we're all different in how we respond or react to traffic. Some people will say, well, they just lean back, turn on the radio, listen to something, maybe even play music or something else. Some people, they fume, they lament, they're very upset, and then they get angry when somebody cuts them off, somebody crosses them, as we say, and by the time they arrive home, they're all so worked up, and it has nothing to do with the people that are coming to meet at home. So even hello, welcome, the way they respond, you wonder what did I do wrong? And the misunderstanding has already started. And then there's a very interesting one also he came up with. Inconsistency in the way we answer. The same question asked today you answer yes. Next week, you say no. Another time, you say maybe. So which one should we take? Do you like rice and chicken? Or you don't? Or it depends on what the date is. You don't know. You see. And it can be confusing. When you think, oh, I know what he likes. I really now understand. But do we really understand? So the inconsistency in the answers we give can confuse the person on the receiving end. It doesn't help. And then, let's close out with this. A couple more. There are those who say a lot, but dodge or avoid the real issue. They'll say a whole lot about something, but at the end you really don't know what they said. What is she really saying? What is he really saying? So that has to do with, as somebody put it, verbal diarrhea. You say so much, but there's nothing really to show for it, you know? And then, let's close out with this one. Very common mistake. When we hear, we think we have understood. Hearing is not equal to understanding. You're hearing the sound of my voice. Does that mean you are understanding everything? Maybe, maybe not. It is my duty to make sure you actually understand. So even though we were talking about understanding, we will have to look at it from different angles, looking at different reasons why we do not understand or may not understand, because in doing so, we broaden the possibility, we increase the possibility of more people understanding, more of our listeners understanding. What if I had given only one example and it didn't apply to you? Then you say, oh, this doesn't, I'm not there. But we've given many different examples. And hopefully, at least one of them you've experienced in your own marriage or your own relationship. And so you have also said at one time, you don't understand me. Or maybe you asked the question, why don't you understand me? So now let's look at what we can do to help each other understand ourselves better. Note how we put it. We have to help each other to understand ourselves better. First thing is to remember that a relationship is two-way. It is not one way. It's not about one person. It's about two persons, often very different persons. And at the very least, two unique persons. People with their own likes and dislikes, their preferences about different things, different experiences, all of that rolled into one. That's what makes each one of us. So keeping that in mind helps us when we communicate, when we're trying to get a message across, when we're doing something. You realize that it's not easy. But it's because we often forget that. Our thinking is that, oh, he's known me long enough. Oh, but after all these years, shouldn't she understand? Doesn't she know? Maybe not. And it leads us to our next point. We are often quick to assume. We are often quick to assume. Now, here's the truth. That many researchers come up with this. Meanings are in people. Meanings are in people. If you have communicated with, you've tried to pass a message to someone, or someone has tried to pass a message to you, which means you are alive, yes, so somebody has said something to you or done something, you are the one who has interpreted that message. It is not the person who interprets the message. That's what we mean by the phrase, meanings are in people. So, how about this phrase? If your husband or wife got in, or you met your boyfriend, girlfriend, and And the moment you met them, one of the first things they said, you were saying greetings, they said, "Oh, I'm tired." What do you understand by that? We'll pick it up again. I am tired. Think about it. You know. And the reason we may come up with different meanings is that for us, each of those words may mean something different. I am tired. Tired can bring certain images to your mind. It's present. The person is referring to themselves. And maybe you who are listening, you also are already tired. So if you ask the person for help, for example, and then by the time they appear, one of the first things they say, "I am tired," guess what you will be thinking? Oh, he doesn't want to do it. Maybe he just came home. He's telling you, he's saying he's tired because I asked him when he comes from home, he should fix this or that. It's natural. It doesn't mean you are wrong, but it only means you could be very wrong. Because I am tired could simply mean he has had a tiring day at work. Or it may not be work. Maybe you talked to them an hour ago. They said, "Oh yeah, I'm looking forward, I'm coming home. Okay, I'll see you." But they spent 45 minutes stuck in traffic. So 1 hour after they said, "Yep, I'm coming, and I'm going to, fix it," they arrive and you hear, "I am tired." And you think, "Oh, he doesn't want to do what he promised." And what's the response of the person? "Oh, but he promised to fix that and that." "Oh, sure, I'll do it." But he said you are tired. But the tiredness may have been stuck in traffic in the heat of the sun, and his car doesn't have AC, no air conditioning. So yes, he's tired. But you see, the conclusion the other person jumped to, that's why we say jump to the conclusion, because it takes effort. That he didn't want to do the work. But no, his tiredness has to do with being stuck in traffic, not trying to dodge the work that is on hand. So let's keep this in mind. It is up to the person who is passing on the information to make sure that what they intend to get across, or what they want the other person to see and understand, are the same as what they themselves intend to get across. This is important. But you see, we don't take time to think through all of this. When we're with people we're very comfortable with, people we've known for a while, we speak on what we call the shortcut principle. You should know, we already talked about it. So when he comes and he says he's tired, what does he want me to think? He just wanted you to know he's tired. He didn't want you to think that he would not fix what he had agreed to do an hour before. The other thing we can do to help improve how we understand each other is to not pretend that we understand. We can all do this. Maybe you do it. I do it too, sometimes. That is, say, yeah, I get it. Simply to get the other person to stop talking. Especially when you're not interested. But sometimes it plays out also in decision making. We're going to take a decision and it's okay, let's go. Yeah, I get it, yeah, it's alright. If it's not okay, and you know it's not alright, and you know you're not in agreement. But for how long shall we continue talking? Then we'll also say, don't assume you know already. Don't assume you know already. Have you heard this phrase before? I know where he's coming from. Sometimes I ask, where do you think he's going? You know, because that's the end goal. It's what they want to get across. That's the thing. Maybe you know the reason why they're saying so, but are you listening to what they're saying? To know what they're headed with it? Sometimes we conclude that we know where they are headed. We may be missing the point completely. Truth is that we all change. Whether it's our preferences or ideas. Some of the ideas I held 20 years ago, I don't hold them now. So somebody who knew me then and doesn't know what other experiences I've had might think, this is what Richard thinks. Oh yeah, I know Gideon. Oh, I've known her for a long time. Or maybe you knew her in high school. That was several years ago. We all change. We're not we're not 100% predictable. Some of you are howling in disagreement. Oh, I know my wife. I know her. You know, when she says this or does this, I know why she's doing it. I will not argue with you. But have you allowed yourself to think that they may also have changed? See, we are not robots. Human beings are not robots. Programmed to behave a certain way all the time when you hit the switch. Because somebody who gets angry at certain words can learn to do differently. You may be expecting them to behave a certain way, and then they don't. And then guess who's confused? Another important point to improve our understanding is this. You can't force understanding by demanding or questioning the other person. When I say question, I don't mean asking questions. I mean sowing doubts or even disbelieving what they said or wondering why they should even say so or think so. You heard the phrase, you shouldn't think like that, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't feel that way. That's how I feel, that's how I think. But what do you need is where I'm going with my thinking. That's what you need to guide me on so that it will lead me to the understanding you want me to have, rather than say I should not think that way. That's how I'm made up. It doesn't mean I cannot change. But if you are trying to get me to understand your message and I'm missing it, well, guess who needs to guide you? You need to help me get there, rather than write me off. The other thing is also that we should make room in our thinking for a different reaction or action. We should make room for this. Why? Because we may think that our way is the only right way. Our way is the only right way. And how wrong we can be, and we have been at times. If you haven't been wrong before, you're not living. It's only dead people who can't be wrong, you know. So, each one of us has to clear their minds of different things. Here's a phrase I learned just this week. Came from someone we're meeting with. The person said, we have to unlearn some things and then learn new things. They go together. We unlearn. There are things we have learned to do. How to say something, you know, the way you say it, if you raise your voice, the person will understand you're raising your voice is not working. So it means you have to unlearn it. See, sometimes we bring new things to add to what is there in our minds already. But no, we need to remove some things we may have grown up with. We need to remove some things our friends have told us the way to behave. If your friend is telling you, this is how you should behave towards your wife, this is how you should behave towards your husband or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your siblings, somebody, you have a relationship with, this is how they're telling you, and the thing is not working. Why persist in something that's not working? So the wise thing to do is to unlearn it. Take it out of your mind. Don't do it anymore. I give just a simple example that we often hear. Somebody's telling you something, somebody's saying something about a husband, and then says, oh, you know how men are. I don't know. Tell me. You know how men from Asia are. You know how men from Africa are. You know how men in America these days are. I don't know how they are these days. I know how I am. See, the danger is that we can take refuge in generalizing, because the wider we throw the net, we think the more likely it will catch our partner, right? But we could be very wrong. Remember what we said earlier, we are unique. In gender biases, women these days, these women who want to be like modern women, our mothers were not like this. Well, first thing, you didn't even marry your mother, so why are you comparing your wife to your mother? Let's see what Romans chapter 12 and verse 2 says. Romans chapter 12 verse 2. And this is critical in helping us to develop better understanding of each other. Romans 12 and verse 2.
Romans chapter 12 verse 2 from the New Living Translation. Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect.
Okay, can you take it again? Don't copy the ways of the world.
Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect.
Or you want to know God's will for how things will go better? Maybe you need to change the way you think. All this talk about women these days and men from Africa, men from... Why don't you change the way you think? That could be a major step in improving your understanding. Another thing we can do to improve understanding for each other is that we should learn. See, we unlearn some of the things we grew up with, especially, or we've been advised to do. Especially if it's not working with your partner, why waste time? Why repeat something that is not working? So we unlearn it. Because it may work for other people. For us, it doesn't work, so let's change it. And then, in this place, we will learn to share more information to clarify. There's some people who get offended when the person listening asks a question. Maybe your kids do that to you a lot. But they're living in a different generation. Your generation didn't ask questions of your parents. Your children are doing the same. They're only seeking to know. But what is your perception? They're rude. They're disrespectful. Sometimes we even carry the same thinking over to our spouses. Because we didn't see our mother ask a question. We didn't see our father ask a question when the other person spoke. So why is my wife doing that? When I talk, she should just take it. But no. Not only is he different, if it's a husband, not only is he different, it's a whole different generation. Now, why do we need to share more information? Because withholding background, some people will tell you only a little bit, and they withhold more information because for them, they keep that information as a means of control. And so they withhold the information. But you see, soon it's going to create confusion. At the very least, misunderstanding in the spouse's mind. common example we give, for example, we sometimes when we're discussing parenting, we ask parents, when you ask your child or you tell your child, go and clean your room, what do you really want? What do you expect them to do? So, oh, they should fold their clothes, lay the bed, arrange the shoes, and by the time they've listed the things that make for a clean room, they've got 5, 6 different things. So, by you told your child, go and clean your room, do they know that's what it means? Or all of that is in your head? And your child may ask why. Or they come back and they say they cleaned, and you go and take a peek and say, why did you say you are cleaning the room? Because you say 3 things that are out of place. But did they really understand what you meant? Sometimes some people don't want to share information because, oh, me, I don't like talking about myself. A relationship is not about one person. If you are in a relationship, marriage, single, whichever kind of relationship there is, that's why today we broaden to add siblings, parents, and all. They're all relationships. They may not be romantic relationships, but they are relationships. So it's, oh, I'm shy. I don't like talking about myself. Shyness is not an excuse. If you want to be understood by the other person. And remember also that you cannot be in a relationship and not share about yourself. Then you don't want to relate. That's what it really means. You want rather to be invested in the relationship. Yes, every investment means giving something from yourself. So then it leads us to our next point. We all need to speak up. It's easy to say, oh, this was something small. Oh, we had a wonderful time, when we went out, the party, the wedding, this program, that program. So, something happened there, but it's been such a good day with the kids. I don't want to spoil the day by bringing up something. So today you don't. Something else happens, and the blow-up comes. And especially what it means also is that when one person begins to speak up, the other person needs to listen. And not just focus on having the last word. In fact, if you think you've heard the last word, trust me, it is not going to be the last word. But in sharing, in speaking up, there is something that is often missing. We do not express why something is really important to us, or sometimes how important it is, or how whatever action or words, something that's been done or not done, makes us feel. Our feelings are part of what makes the other person understand us better. That's why we said earlier, we don't dismiss each other's feelings. Let's see what Proverbs 16:24 says. Proverbs 16:24, what it says.
Proverbs 16:24. Kind words are like honey, sweet to the soul and healthy for the body.
Well,
Amen.
Amen. That goes with being patient. So when you speak up, remember kind words. Your focus is not to destroy your partner. If you want to be understood, then let's focus on doing that and not destroying each other. And we need also to be patient. That's another thing we need to do, to be patient. Remembering that each of us sometimes has feelings we cannot explain or properly express. I want to repeat that. Sometimes we cannot explain or properly express the feelings we have. Or let me add, the thoughts that may be going through our minds. And it helps understanding each other if we can agree to pause the discussion and take it up later. Maybe one person is hurt or angry, whatever reason. Why should we force through a discussion? In relation to that, we need to be honest with each other, starting with ourselves. Do you really not understand? Have you really not understood? Or do you just want to have your way? So whatever your partner is saying, you don't understand. So you tell them. Let's listen to Proverbs chapter 16, verse 2. The book of Proverbs is indeed a book of wisdom sayings, wise sayings. Proverbs
chapter 16,
verse 2.
verse 2. People may be pure in their own eyes, but the Lord examines their motives.
That's what I'm telling you. Everything is okay. God knows why. He who sees where nobody sees, and who knows what nobody knows. Am I really being honest with my spouse when I say I don't understand or they don't understand? My last but one point is this. We can improve our understanding when we check back for understanding. We learned recently what pilots do, pilots of aircraft, when they're communicating with the control tower. When they say the control tower gives them an instruction, what do they say? They repeat it, and then you hear on the other end, Roger that. That means I've understood. But you see, because we're not flying a plane, because we're not going to land or take off, we think it's okay to say what we have to say, and that's it. But sometimes it helps to ask our partner, did you understand what I said? Or even better, how did you understand what I said? What did you understand by this? You know, when we often ask, what did you understand, is when we are fighting. Say, why did you understand this that way? What did you understand? And then we realize, no, it wasn't what we intended to get across. And sometimes it helps to ask a question. When you're on the receiving end, to ask the question, do you mean when you say X, do you mean what are we doing? We're asking for clarification. We just want to get it right. Problem is we sometimes wait. That's what we think we already know. We think we already understand. Oh, let me just go and do it so you get off my back. So you leave me alone. What happens? Until the problem arises is what we think we knew or heard or understood. And then what do we say? I thought, yeah, your thinking, my thinking was wrong. We didn't understand. So finally, here are our words. It's important to focus on understanding our spouse, and we also work at helping the other person to understand us. So it's two-way. You understand me, I understand you. That's what we say is total communication. And foul language clouds total communication. That's why we have to speak like the Apostle Paul said. 2 verses of the Bible to finish with. Yes, we're moving away from the book of wisdom words, Proverbs. Let's look at Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Very helpful. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29.
Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Let no corrupt word proceed out of your mouth, but what is good for necessary edification, that it may impart grace to the hearer.
Can you please read that again?
Let no corrupt word proceed out of your mouth, but what is good for necessary edification, that it may impart grace to the hearer.
It benefits those who hear. So I'm not just saying it, but I'm saying it that it will help. And the final one is from Colossians, the Apostle Paul letter to the Colossians chapter 4 and verse 6. Colossians 4 verse 6.
Colossians chapter 4, verse 6. Let your speech always be with grace, seasoned with salt, that you may know how you ought to answer each one.
Amen. So thank you so much. There you have it. Hopefully after tonight, after this session, we will be able to understand each other better. But have you thought about this? People who are married, before they got married, they say, oh, he understands me so much. Oh, the way when I say something, in fact, nobody has understood me like she does. So what happens in the 5 years after they said so? 5 years after they got married, 10 years after, 20 years after, why is it that the person who understood you more than anyone else today doesn't understand you? The answer lies in us, both of us. And the solution lies in both of us. And with God's help, we will succeed in understanding each other. Thank you so much for listening, and over to Dr. Sam for our questions and your contributions as well.
Thank you very much, Uncle Richard, for such an in-depth and powerful presentation on the subject of why don't you understand me? So folks, as you heard from Mr. and Mrs. Crab, sometimes the challenge is that we become too familiar with each other, and that bless our communication with each other. So on that note, we have the lines open for question and answer time. Just in case you are on the phone using the conference line and you want to ask a question directly, you can do so by unmuting yourself, and then you can go ahead and ask the question, and Mr. and Mrs. Crab will gladly answer that for you. Just in case you are also not in a position to talk directly, you are welcome to send your message via text, country code +1, area code 571, and 3379185. We will read your message, your question, and it will be answered as well. Again, if you're on YouTube, you can also put your question there directly, and it will be read as well. So let's go straight to some of the questions that have come in ahead of the discussion. And we begin from Sierra Leone. And it says that, good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Crab. What actually inspired both of you to spend time in understanding? Wait, let me see the question again. What inspired both of you in acquiring communication and understanding skills in marriage? Is it your past experience? Is it what you saw growing up? Or is it something that you both intentionally decided to do? Thank you.
This is like an academic question. But since you're asking about ourselves, I'll let her go first.
a lot of things put together. We, as we always tell you, the first few years, I'll say the first 3 years of our marriage was really rough. It was not good. Nothing to write home about. But when we had it turned around by learning, we felt that at least those coming behind us, we can help them. We can, all that we are learning, we can teach others. And so that's how we started. We just love to help people. Our aim is for everybody to enjoy their marriages. So whatever it takes to enjoy the marriage, that's what we are doing for everybody. And there is one thing that we said, that anything that is not practical in our life, we will not share. So whatever we share, it means that we have practiced it and we know it is good. And that is how we started. It's just the love for people, to help people to enjoy their marriages. That's what made us start all this.
You can also say that we can say that when we got married as very good friends, you see, and we believed we were communicating really well. And one of the points we made in our presentation is that we cannot be 100% predictable, or we can't predict 100% how your spouse will behave all the time. So one of the things we did not really, I'll say, prepare for, or actually even realize would happen to us, was what changes in our lives would bring. So when we married and we thought, oh, he understands me and she understands me, we got children, we got different responsibilities in terms of work, you see, all these affected us. There was constraints on our time, even the time we would have for each other. Church took up a lot of my time, I would say, more than hers. There was very little time left, actually, even to interact, to share. So she might say something, and my whole orientation was different. Some of the things we shared are from our lives. Some we've gleaned over the years, working with different couples. Some we've learned from our own training. What drove us to do that? Primarily, it was to improve our own relationship, so we could understand each other better, and so we could enjoy our relationship also. Maybe you hear us talking our relationship more than our marriage, because it's the relationship that makes the marriage. It's not the other way around. So you can be in a marriage and have a terrible relationship with each other in your marriage. I'm talking of how you are relating to each other. And yet on the outside, it will look like a good marriage. But we learned to make sure that the inside also was in sync with the outside. That's what drove us. To be able to learn, acquire more skills, and then why keep the skills to ourselves? We can share with other people also. As we practice, and they see and they ask us, how can you do this? How are you able to do this? Then we share. And now we're able to share with all of you. Dr. Sam and his team at the Inspired Radio Network, they also help us to go all over the world, just like he said. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Uncle Richard. Very powerful, and thank you, Mrs. Crab, as well. Another question, still in West Africa. This is coming from Nigeria, and it says that great topic. Understanding sometimes can be difficult, even though it's meant to be easy. My question to you is that what advice do you have for people who naturally struggle with expressing themselves clearly. Do you think that ineffective way of expressing yourself can contribute to some of these miscommunication issues in marriage? Thank you.
Yes, ineffective ways can and will contribute to misunderstanding. The problem is we sometimes don't realize it's ineffective. So one test of whether the way you're communicating is effective or not is your partner's response. If the response isn't what you intended, what you expected, there is more work to do, you know. But you have to understand that their response, you see. And that's why we have to learn, sometimes even unlearn. If it's the way you talk that puts the person off, then you need to begin to find out what about the way I talk puts you off. For example, for you, it might be perfect. Others may even commend you from the way you talk. Maybe you speak, as we say, matter of fact. You say it like it is. But you may be putting off your partner. And it's important that we are alert to these. See, this is why we said the one on the receiving end needs to speak up, because that helps the one who's getting the message across to be able to refine. Sometimes it's not so much the message, but it's the how that we present it that helps to understand. You know, the one who receives it to understand better. And it doesn't get interfered with. The way you spoke, maybe as a couple, you may end up often talking about how you spoke to each other rather than the real issue. You see? So that's what we're saying. So hope this up there. But what about those who can't express themselves properly? Like they don't, as people say, they don't talk much.
No, you see, if you say you don't talk much, it's relative. It depends on who you are talking with. People are found in a lot of ways that people who say they don't talk much, it depends on who they're talking with. Because some of them will say we don't talk much. They don't talk much with their spouses, with their husband or wife. But when they are with friends, they talk a lot. It is how you value the relationship between your husband or your wife. You have to be able to express yourself and say whatever you mean. Why are you hiding from each other? Why can't you express yourself and say it like it is? If you say that you can't express yourself very well, sometimes you are just hiding. You don't want to say a lot, or sometimes you feel that maybe what I'm saying may not be right, so I'd rather not say it. And then we hide behind, I don't know how to express myself. Who says you don't know how to express yourself? Everybody can express themselves. Say it like you think. And if the person doesn't understand, explain. And if the person is offended, find out why the person is offended by what you said. And then you can work with that. But if you say you don't know how to express yourself, then everything is in your mind. And the partner doesn't know. And how can they work with you? It doesn't work that way. We should be able to talk and stop giving this excuse of, I don't know how to express myself. Because we express ourselves very well when we are with friends, when we are with other people.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Club almost took the next question out of my mouth, but just for the individual who has a question to feel that the question has been asked, I would still go ahead to ask. And this question is coming from Ghana. And it says that why is it that we sometimes feel too comfortable to express ourselves and laugh with our friends, but then when we are with our spouses, it's as if we live in a ghost town? Is it because we become too careful not to step on each other's toe And so that in itself kills communication between the two of us. But when we are with friends, we just say it the way it is because nobody holds it against us. But when it comes to relationship, it's a whole different game altogether. What do you think? So that's why I said Mr. Scrap almost took the words out of my mouth. But
Yes, it's part of the problem because sometimes in marriage, your partner doesn't even want you to be who you are. So anything you say, they find problems with it. But you say the same thing to some friends and they are fine, they laugh and all that. So you will talk with your friends more because they seem to understand you. Meanwhile, it shouldn't be so. Our partners should be the people who should, by all means, seek to understand us. By the way, how did it happen that when you were 14, you were understanding everything, though you were laughing at the person's jokes when you were 14, and now that you are married, you cannot laugh at those jokes anymore? That is trying to change everything. Sometimes we treat our partners in a way that we want them to live like a robot. You want them to live a certain way, and you don't want them to say something because you get offended because you are hurt. How can you know exactly what the person is feeling or thinking if they cannot express themselves? So we try to be on the safe place. Well, if I offend you, then I'll rather not talk. Then I'll keep my jokes to myself and I'll keep my comments. Or when I give the comments and you don't find it helpful, or sometimes things that come out of spouses, this is, very offensive to me. This shows disrespect to me. This, I don't like the way you say these things. The person will not say anything anymore. So they want, okay, if this is how you want us to live, we tread cautiously, break no bones, don't rock the boat, and let's say you lose a lot in each other when things are like that, when we don't allow our spouses to express themselves freely. We lose a lot. Your marriage sometimes will be boring.
Isn't it ironic that the same persons later on complain that he is not communicating, she is not communicating? Isn't that what happens? But then they may not realize that they're the ones who shut down or who have made it more difficult for the spouse to communicate. You see, I can't talk like my wife talks unless I am asking. She can't talk like I do unless she's playing a role to talk like I talk. But each one of us can agree on how we talk with each other, to each other, in a way that we understand each other. And we don't bring up all this, don't say this, don't say no, you can only say this way, no, speak this way. It doesn't help. And as we often ask is, but you knew all this about the person before you fell in love with them? Or this is part of the whole package you said you wanted for the rest of your life. So instead of throwing away the package, i.e. the person, why don't you find out how you can live better with the person who comes with all that you may not like? That's certainly a better way of doing it. Because you want to discard the person that is divorced, married, remarried. How many people are you going to divorce or remarry until you find the one who does and thinks exactly like you want? And we also often say, if your spouse did everything exactly like you wanted, they'll become somebody else. And you wouldn't like who they will become. Just think about that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Uncle Richard. That's a very powerful add-on to what Mrs. Scrap said. Let's see. Let's come to the United States, and this is from the Philadelphia area. And it says that my question. I don't know if it's directly related to today's topic, but I've had this in my mind for a while. Anytime I want to have sex with my wife, she will find an excuse. Uh, in a month, sometimes it only happens once. So how do you expect a man to remain faithful when you deny the very thing that a man desires? Is it wrong that a man will then go out because the wife refuses to have sex? Not that we have any issue or any argument, it just happens all the time. Again, I'm sorry if my question is unrelated to today's subject, but I chance on it, so I want Mr. and Mrs. Scribe to help me understand it better. Thank you.
You asked a few questions. Is it wrong to go out and what was that part of it?
So, Dr. Sam can read that portion again.
Yes.
Questions, yeah.
Yes. So the question is that every time you wanted to have sex, there is always an excuse. And so, what is it that the wife who doesn't want to have sex with me, is it wrong for me to go out and have it since she doesn't want to? Yes.
Okay. All right. So, what is it? What is wrong? What is it that? Why is your wife not wanting to have sex with you? That is the first question you need to ask your wife.
And the answer is not the excuse you give her. You already say it's an excuse. But is it an excuse?
So what truly is the issue? That's what you need to address. As for whether it's wrong or right to go out, it's totally wrong to go find sex somewhere else apart from your wife, because that is adultery. It is not right. But you have to deal with the issue. Is she just refusing to have sex, or there is a problem? That is what we have to deal with. So find out from her. If she is not, you think that she is not telling you, then seek help so that someone can help you. But there is nobody just decides that they don't want to have sex. Either maybe you are not treating her the way, she's not happy. There are so many things. Somebody said she's always tired. The man does nothing, and after everything, and after everything, you want her to also perform very well in bed. She is ready to just sleep. She can't do all those things by herself, and then perform this one too. How about helping in some way in the house? And sometimes some of them say the way they are treated, like trash. It don't matter. But when we get to bed, then suddenly I matter. The problem sometimes with the sex is that, especially when the men are complaining that they are not having sex as they want, what the wives are saying, they are not listening. So you will never get the problem solved. So find out from your wife. And if you think you are not getting it, then seek help. But the main thing that we are finding out is that the very thing that the wives are saying, the husbands are having none of that. They are not listening. If they could listen to what the wife is saying, your problem will be solved.
Thank you very much. Yes. Go on.
Yes, we gotta listen. It's for our own benefit. So says my wife. And I endorse what she said. Because I've listened and it has benefited me. I commend you to listen to your wives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. and Mrs. Scrub, for that. Another question here, and this is also from the United States. This is coming from the Commonwealth of Virginia, and it says that, good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Scrub. What a topic. Why don't you understand me? Do you think that people just refuse to understand, or is only just because of behavioral issues? Or is it that women sometimes uses this type of behavior as a way of expressing an issue that need to be discussed and not thoroughly discussed? What do you think? What do you both think?
It's all of the above. And let's balance it. It could also be men who may be feeling the same way. So it's not only, women who do that. Because it's a human issue, not aiming for understanding and wanting your own way. Whether it's deliberate refusal, yes, we put it in our presentation. We've had people do whatever he says, I don't mind it. Whatever he does, I don't mind him. So how can there be understanding? It's not going to happen. The person has already made up their mind. Somebody says, I have a mental block. If you have a mental block, who put it there? Why don't you unblock it? If you need help to unblock it, then seek help to unblock it. But don't use, I have a mental block. It means you know it's there. So why don't you do something about it? Why do you keep using that as an excuse not to understand your spouse? That's where the problem is. So yes, it can be all of the above. Some people refuse. For some, it's also a behavioral issue in terms of, we just talked about one, not listening. And very often not listening or even not wanting to listen goes with us wanting to have our own way. And we already said in our presentation that our way may not necessarily be the best. The fact that it came from you as a man, the head of the home, the head of your wife, doesn't mean it is the best. The fact that it came from the woman does not make it the best, even though it might be something about women. We just have to open up our minds. Actually, the Bible says, renew. Let God change the way of your thinking. And open up your mind to learn something. But remembering what, I said, the phrase somebody used this past week, we need to unlearn some things. Some of us, we have heard, this is how you get a woman to do this. This is how you get a man to do this. You are hammering at that same spot. It's not working. So when are you going to stop and do something differently? 5 years, 10 years, it's not working. And guess what? You are not happy. He's not happy. She's not happy. Why don't you unlearn it and then replace it by learning to do something different and better? That's how we improve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Crab, on that. Another question coming in, and this is coming in from Kenya. And it says that, well, don't you also think that sometimes we don't have to understand each other in order to enjoy our marriages? Because sometimes when it's all lousy and it's all fun, we don't get to learn and we don't get to appreciate each other. Am I wrong? If so, please share your experience with us. Thank you.
You mean you don't have to understand each other to enjoy your marriage? That's what the person is saying.
It seems so.
It's totally wrong. You have to understand. You cannot enjoy your marriage if you don't understand each other. You'll be pretending, and you don't want to pretend. You have to understand each other. Why would you be working with someone you don't understand? That's not part of it. So if that is what you are thinking, take it out of your mind. You have to understand each other. Otherwise, you will just be performing duties and not really enjoying your marriage. I promise you. You have to understand each other. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So, my friend in Kenya, please make sure you get help. All right.
Dr. Sam, please let me add something, just a thought that just came to mind.
Sure.
You know, I'm just thinking of another angle of what she said. The person, who wrote, sorry, I don't know if it's a she or he, but what the person said, that we don't have to understand each other to enjoy our marriages. You know, what maybe is not being said is that all this thing about I understand you and you understand me, all taking the time to do all these things, the person might think is not necessary. Now what is necessary is just do what you are to do in the marriage. But even that is a huge potential minefield for misunderstanding. How do I know I'm doing the right thing? I may be doing totally the wrong thing. And that's what ends up creating what we call functional marriages. One cooks, cleans, does laundry, pays mortgage, buys fuel for the car. They kind of split these. And so long as each person is doing what they have to do, then they think everything is okay. And that's what we referred to earlier. On the outside, the marriage might look great. But on the inside, each of them is deeply unhappy. It's only a matter of time for it to surface. In functional marriages, people might even envy you. Oh, look, they bought a house. Look, they have 3 cars. Look, they go on vacation. Everything seems to be happening, but there really is no relationship that is being enjoyed. There's functioning in the marriage. But is the relationship also humming along? Or they're just doing things so it looks like they are in a marriage? Sometimes that's the most difficult marriage to be in. Because either one or both of them may be deeply unhappy. And it's terrible if one is unhappy and the other one thinks it's great. And that's just a thought that came to mind. I thought it might help our friend in Kenya to, if it's his or her marriage, to review and check. Am I really helping myself? Am I really helping my spouse? If I don't care about understanding what he said. So how do you even know that what you are doing is right in their eyes? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very good advice as well. Another question here is coming from the United States, from New York. And it says that, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Crab, for this awesome presentation on understanding each other. My question is that, are there recommended books that you have used in your marriage or in your counseling that you can share with folks like us who are still struggling, even though we've married for over 30 years and yet to understand each other? Thank you.
Well, there are books out there, and one of the books we have found very useful is Why You Act the Way You Do by Tim LaHaye. Why You Act the Way You Do. And then there's a second one, The Spirit Controlled Temperament. The Spirit Controlled Temperament by the same man. See, sometimes it's helpful to understand ourselves and know why we are acting the way we do. And then that is when we will see whether we need help or not. And then we can understand our spouses too and see where either we can help or seek help or find out how we can live with each other happily. Because when you understand yourself and you understand your spouse, then you can work together. So those are some books that you can purchase online or anywhere. It's not expensive. You can find it. Why You Act the Way You Do. And then we also have some books, How to Enjoy Your Marriage. It's on Amazon, Kindle. You can get it. You want to say something?
No, go ahead. Amazon Kindle.
Yes, you can also find that, How to Enjoy Your Marriage. And also the Genesis of Marriage is also by us. You can find those and it can help.
If you like the print version, you can drop us a note through Be Inspired or Dr. Sam's number. He'll give you the number again. And then you can drop us a note. We can send you the print version. It's a small cost. It's not that expensive. So just let us know and we'll send you. But if you are tech inclined, you can order the Kindle versions of How to Enjoy Your Marriage and the Genesis of Marriage. You just put in the names Richard and Vivian Crabb, those two books by us. They will come up and then you can order them also on Amazon, the Kindle versions. Friends, send a message to Dr. Sam Jacobs Abbey, and we will get back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And somebody want to ask a question? Okay, great. So the number will be country code +1, area code 571-337-9185. You can send a text message or you can call and we'll get the information to Mr. and Mrs. Crabb and you can get your book. Alright, so another question here again from the US, and it says that, well, this is just awesome learning platform. I am so grateful that I've had an opportunity today to listen to Mr. and Mrs. Crabb on this subject. Now, in the area of understanding each other, do you also sometimes think that it must correlate to forgiveness? Because if you try to understand each other and yet you have unforgiving heart, how will you expect somebody to be transparent to you when in actual fact the very confession or things spoken to you will be used against you in subsequent matters? What will be your advice to folks who are going through such difficult moments of trying to express themselves by being honest and truthful, but yet the truthfulness is used to make them feel as if they don't matter again in life? Thank you.
Thank you. Forgiveness is always part of the whole thing. We have to always learn to forgive. And if whatever you say is used against you, then it's not forgiveness. You have not forgiven. You are just seeking information to use as an ammunition against the person. That is not forgiveness. If you are talking about forgiveness, then we are listening to each other, and when we say we are forgiving you, we let it go. We don't keep it to use against you. Anybody who does that, first, you are not forgiving, but the more serious thing is that you will not get information. If whatever I have said today, you're going to use it against you, you are not going to get any information further. So you are cheating yourself, and you will not get very far. And it is not wise to do that. And sometimes the very thing that we are doing, we want to find it, we want to find the fault in our partner. And so we want to hammer that. Maybe you have even done something well, and then you dwell on your partner's fault and that's why you always remind your partner about that. And you have the bigger problem. It is no wonder that Jesus said that remove the plank in your eye before you remove the speck in your neighbor's eye. Jesus knew what he was talking. That's what we do most of the time. The things that in this work that we do, the things we have found, the person who is accusing the partner, whatever they accuse the partner of so much, dwelling on that, they have the problem. They have a bigger problem with that. That is what happens. So yes, forgiveness is a huge part of everything. And true forgiveness, not just saying into your mouth that I forgiven you, but acting in every way to show me you have not forgiven. Then you have to forgive us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. and Mrs. Crab. Absolutely right, and I agree with you that without forgiveness, I don't know how you will strive in your relationship, particularly with two different people living one single life. Definitely, forgiveness will be a key part. Another question here, also from the US, says that I know all the previous topics in the last maybe 3 or 4 months, we always talk about the role culture or culturally role in some of these issues. Do you also think that there are people, with no offense to our friends from the northern part of Ghana, but there is a perception that we say that whatever you do, they will not understand you. Do you think that culturally this can also create problems in marriages? Thank you.
You know, when you are saying culturally, it's our mind. It's our mindset. Our mindset. There is nowhere that, you can just decide that after these people, they don't understand anything. It is while you are thinking about the people. Sometimes it is things that we have been fed with in our mind, things that have been said around you, and it is not only the Northerners or any tribe, any part of anybody. It is your own ideas, what you have heard, maybe from childhood or from friends, and you think that as for these people, they don't understand anything. Whatever you do, they won't understand. So why are you married to the person if you think they don't understand anything? It is your mindset. It has nothing to do with even culture. It is your mindset individually. So you have to unlearn that thing. There is nobody in this world that you can decide that as for them they don't understand. How about you yourself? You don't understand anything. That's why you have that in your mind. And you are thinking someone else doesn't understand anything. Think of yourself first. Begin to understand. And remove that thing from your head. Anybody on this line thinking that some people don't understand anything. Remove it from your mind. It will help you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mrs. Crab, on that particular conversation. So please just get to know that culture, as we have learned today, it's what we perceive in our mind. And I completely also agree with Mrs. Scrap because uh, there are people from different parts of the world who get along so well, even interracial and by different tribes and nationalities, and they get along so beautifully. So definitely, what we set in our mind can also become part and parcel of this whole problem. But other question here, Mr. Scrub or Mr. Scrub, it says that active listening. Mr. Crab touched a bit on his presentation of active listening. Can you go a little deeper to explain how active listening can help each other to understand each other more in relationships? Thank you.
Thank you. When we listen actively, first of all, it means we are not just hearing the sound, but it means we are engaging with what is coming. Engaging with the information coming is, first of all, we give our attention to it. And the way we give attention to it is not, shouldn't depend on what we want, but what our partner wants. If the person says, can you drop the magazine? Can you turn the volume down so that I tell you something? Then we do that. Or what do we sometimes do? Oh, go ahead, I'm listening. Or maybe you're chopping something or doing something else. And what your partner wants is more focused attention. But maybe you are like me and you think you can do three things at the same time, right? Eat, read, and watch television. My wife will tell you what she thinks about that when I'm done, you know. But then it wasn't working for her. And she'll tell me I'm not listening. And what I was doing was actually hearing what she was saying. And almost always I could repeat immediately after she had finished exactly what she said. Sometimes 100% word for word. She'll tell you what the result was. I won't try to even paraphrase it. But here's the thing. What do we do? Active listening also means we listen so we can learn from what is being said, rather than just listening so we can react. We listen so we can learn from it. And when we learn from what has been said, we will respond. You say, oh, but I learned what he said, this, I got this from it. But you didn't really learn because you heard certain words. That's what you heard. And you reacted spontaneously to those words. They triggered certain things in your mind and you reacted. That's why we call them reaction. But when you learn, you go beyond the words and engaging with what you heard. Why did he say that? Why did she say this? Why did they say it this way? Are they angry? You realize that it takes more time to respond than to react. And it's when we respond that we do justice to what we've heard. Active listening also means we're taking what is coming seriously. We're not just dismissing it as, oh, that's women talk. Oh, there goes my husband again. No. It means we take not only what is coming seriously, but who is coming from also seriously. Those are all parts of active listening. When you read around it, you read things like, your posture, body language, all of that. I just shorten that to mean find out from your partner how they would like you to listen to them. You might be surprised what you learn. But you are going to tell them how wonderfully I listen to you, doing three things at the same time, but I listen.
One of the simple things that I get him with is when he says he has heard or he's listened. He can even tell you what you said immediately. But when whatever it is, when the real time comes for the thing to be done and he has forgotten or whatever I said, he asked a question maybe a week after or a few days after. He asked a question, and sometimes the interesting one for me is when he asked the same question like 3-4 times. Then I believe you were not listening. This is what I said. And if you have asked the same question over and over, it means all the other times you were not listening. Because if you listen actively, you will not be asking this question right now. So that was one of the ways he learned. And I just want to add about this active listening. One of the things that is really troubling us in this world now is our phones. Our mobile phones. We are so interested in chatting with the whole world or finding out something on our phones that sometimes when our spouses are talking to us, you are so much into your phone, you are, typing something or looking at something, and you are telling yourself, I'm listening. You are not. It is very annoying. When your spouse wants to talk, to put down the phone. And those who say, me, I don't mind. If you are on your phone, I don't mind. Well, your partner minds. So when they want you to actively listen, put down your phone and look into their face and talk with them, please. Don't let your cell phones enslave you so you don't listen to each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Crow, for sharing your personal experience with us. We have two more questions, and that will be up for us for today. This question here, it's coming from Ghana, and it says that sometimes it's a very difficult to understand each other. I hope you will agree with me. We strive to pretend to understand each other. But if we do, then why do we have to either repeat many times, or why is it that when it comes to action time, it looks as if we have forgotten what we agreed to do? Is it that we pretend to listen or we pretend to understand each other, but in reality, it is not an easy task to understand each other? What do you both think?
The pretense is the problem. If you pretend to understand, that is when you have the problem. If you don't understand, ask questions. And don't try to so that I will look smart. Maybe if I say I don't understand, I'll be looking dumb, so I just pretend. You are causing your own problem. If you don't understand something, ask. And don't pretend that you understand. And, well, I got it. You don't got it. So don't say that. Sometimes we do that. As human beings, you are being taught something and you want to prove that but you haven't gotten it. So you are not a fool if you say you haven't gotten it. Or, it doesn't mean you are not smart. If you haven't gotten it, you haven't gotten it. So just let the person know that you don't understand this. And let them explain. You are better off. But if you say you understand, and then you don't, you make a fool of yourself. When the time comes, as you are saying the action that you don't remember what the person said. Or because you don't understand, you don't know what to do next. So please, it is not a bad thing if you don't understand. Let your partner know that I don't understand. And even if they explain and you still don't get it, you have to say it. That, you know what, I still don't understand. And let them explain more. You are far better off than pretending. Please don't pretend that you understand. Don't try to be smart, look smart and you are being stupid. Don't do that.
One of the things in our presentation was that sometimes we say we've understood just to get the other person off our back, just to get them to stop talking. We're tired of hearing all this plenty talk, especially if it's no longer a conversation, but you are hearing a lecture, or you feel you are being lectured to, or sometimes even talked down to. So we might just try to cut everything off by saying, yeah, but it's all right, But that's also not the truth, and it doesn't help if we can't be honest and transparent with each other. So let's keep that in mind also. We aren't helping ourselves, we aren't helping our partner, spouse, if we're not being truthful in this regard. It's not helpful. We also will suffer from it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. and Mrs. Scrap. The last question I have here, and it's also coming from Nigeria. That will be our last question from Nigeria. And it says, can you share an example of a time when miscommunication caused a serious problem in your marriage? I know I have gone back to listen to some of your shows, and you've talked about your experience, especially at the early stages of your marriage. If this is relevant, please can you share an example of a time when miscommunication caused a serious problem in your marriage? Thank you.
I'm trying to think about a serious problem. So so we're trying to we were trying to put up a house in Ghana, building where we come from, and so whoever was in charge of it got connected to my wife, partly because her phone is the more active one, and so the two of them would communicate. He would send an invoice over or schedule of works, and money would go, stuff like that. And I went to Ghana. It was actually for work. And I didn't go to see the house. So she asked me, have you been there? Because their understanding was that I would go see it. But I was so busy, and I think she will take it from here, because I thought, well, I was busy, I went for work, it wasn't about my house or our house, so why is she upset? So you take it from here. And what did that create? When I said I didn't go see the place. What did you think? What did you feel? What it led to?
It was not only that he didn't go to see the project, but that when each time when we are here, when the guy calls, even if he picked up the phone, he hands it over to me, that the guy wants to talk to me. I said, no, you have to. We don't fight when the phone is there. I take the phone and talk to the guy, but then I ask him, why did you give it to me? Why don't you talk to him?
Because he asked for you.
Next time, you talk to him. And this went on, and he went to Ghana a few times, but never went there. Finally, when after we had a few fights about it, that we really have. When he went, he saw a few things that if he had gone before, he would have, that problem wouldn't have been there. But anyway,
And the result of it was that the next time the foreman sent an invoice, I looked at it and I said, no, it can't be. He's overcharging us. We got someone else to check it, and yes, he was overcharging us. So the serious problem it caused for us was that we lost a lot of money, or we had wasted money. Yeah, we lost, for the same amount of money, we could have done much, much more. And, when we got somebody else to oversee what was being done, we were able to save some money, but we had already lost money in the process, and it took much longer than it should take. So that's why the miscommunication, because she was expecting, we talked, say, I'll see the place. But I went and I didn't do it. Was it that I didn't understand? I understood. But then, when she said, oh, you should talk to them, I'm saying, well, the man asked for you. I mean, technically I was right. The guy on the phone said he wanted to talk to Mrs. Crab, so I handed over the phone to Mrs. Crab. But I knew who was the caller anyway. But the miscommunication was me not letting her know that, I'm not really worried about this guy, but for her also to understand or to let me know that, hey, you're not going to see this, is telling me you don't really care about the project. And why am I having to handle something I don't really understand? And then I'm asking her questions on the project when I could have talked to the guy. So once we talked through this and we agreed, all right, you've been to Ghana recently, you should know prices. So you should be, the next invoice, yes, I checked it, and immediately I could tell, no, he's overcharging. And so by sharing, you remember I said sharing, she told me her feelings, I was able also to take on board what she said, we were able to work better together. And we stopped hemorrhaging money.
And it didn't come nice. Because when you are angry, you may not talk nice.
But you're talking about yourself.
Yeah, but we have to understand. You have to understand the feelings of the other person.
Thank you.
You're not just babbling, or just saying something bad. I'm annoyed that things are going that way. And everybody has their feelings. I should be allowed to be annoyed. I
thought you were being too difficult. But we understood each other and we were able to move ahead better and save money also in the process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Crab. So we no longer have additional questions, so I'll hand it over back to you for summary.
All right, so just, in a nutshell, just quickly, let's remember that two people make up the relationship, not one. We cannot only be interested in our viewpoint, perspective, ideas, our way, and ignore or even downplay what our partner is interested in or what he or she may also think. The second thing is that when we aim to understand, each of us must have a voice. Each of us must have a voice. We should not be so much in love with our own voices that our partner's voices become noise to us. But just like we say they are wonderful people, surely their voices must also be wonderful in our ears. Let's learn to listen to each other, learn from each other, improve the way we communicate with each other, and aim to understand each other, as well as make sure we have understood and been understood. Thank you so much. God bless you all. Have a wonderful rest of this month. God willing, we will come to you after Easter, the third Sunday in April next month. Thank you. Bye for now. Thank you to Dr. Jacob Abia and his team, the Inspired Radio Network.
God bless all of you. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.